Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrien Ag Solutions, and I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Let's get started by taking a look back at April 2018. And on my weather analysis this week, we're going to be doing some comparison here between a year ago and now, because last year was quite anomalous. You got statewide average temperature ranks on the left, statewide average precipitation ranks on the right. And what we featured last year was a deep trough that sat over parts of the Hudson Bay and allowed for some bitterly cold air to routinely make it in to the eastern two-thirds of the country. In the Carolinas, you both saw your 24th coldest April on record. Meanwhile, to your north and west, some locations had their coldest. Now, what was interesting was while the middle part of the country was dry, we were actually quite wet down here in parts of the southeast stretching up to the Carolina coast, where we had the 98th and the 110th wettest on record. And again, these records went back 124 years, so very, very interesting pattern. Now, when it comes to temperatures, things are going to be much different, but we're going to have to talk about that precipitation pattern moving forward. Here's a lesson I want everyone to learn this week. What got us to where we were in April 2018 was this deep trough that sat here over the Hudson Bay. You see, that deep trough was actually teamed up with a large ridge sitting just north and west of Alaska. And what that allowed our flow pattern to do is become very wavy, highly amplified like this across the United States. And that allowed for a lot of cold air to continue to kind of wrap its way around this deeper trough that was anchored there over the Hudson Bay. Nothing was shoving that particular trough out of the way. You see, the reason why I take some time to explain this to you is we're about to see a pretty major change from that than a year ago. Now, certainly early in the morning on Monday, we had some pretty cold temperatures that kind of stretched all the way down here into parts of the Carolinas, but certainly to northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and northern Georgia. And that's a place where this time of year is very sensitive to frost. So just to show you Monday morning's all hazards weather map, we see that not only do we have freeze warnings here once we got up into the higher elevations of North Carolina, but come back to your west a little bit and you can see a large pocket of the mid-south there dealing with sub-zero temperatures, sub-freezing temperatures, sub-32 in Fahrenheit there. So some pretty cold air that's kind of tucked into place to begin this week, but things are changing. Now, I wanted to show you one other thing that's a little different here. I'll take you back to the beginning of April 2018, and I want to show you some data from GRACE. GRACE is a satellite that's basically looking at gravitational anomalies. So we're measuring gravity from space here on Earth to help us understand soil moisture. And while we were very wet in the Mid-South, that's a place where it was wet before, going into April, we actually had a little bit of a drier bias here throughout much of the Carolinas. Well, right now, we don't have that. This is the most recent update from GRACE. This, again, is surface soil moisture. We can see that much of the country is in the wetter percentiles here, and that's what we're still dealing with massive flooding in the middle part of the country, and that problem is only going to be getting worse. Over the weekend, what do we see? We saw a widespread region in through here that picked up another ½ inch to 2 inches of rain, and as that system really pulled toward the northeast, we did not get the heavier rainfall here in the southeast and in the coastal Carolinas. Much of it confined much further to your north and west. Did see some strong to severe storms, some big, there's actually one tornado reported here near Colorado Springs, some more storms in the Central Plains, and then as the front dipped to the south, it brought some severe weather from Louisiana back into parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and up towards Tennessee, but we really missed out on the heavier rainfalls here, again, over in the Carolinas. Well, that is not going to be the case over the next week. This is your next week's worth of rainfall here. Putting it all together, taking it out to next Monday morning, we can see that not only is the midsection of the country where the flooding is going on going to get more rain, but we have a couple of systems coming right here over the Carolinas, spreading anywhere between 1 to some locations over 2 inches of rainfall from multiple systems that are coming through. So we're looking at a very wet time period moving forward in the forecast. Now, when I think about this, let me take you back one slide here. The thing that I have to pay attention to is way over here on the West Coast. Turns out that the sign that things are going to be very active in the middle and eastern third of the country is the fact that the West Coast is starting off very, very wet. Now, this is applicable this time of year. And when I see this pattern setting up, it makes me want to understand what the jet stream is doing in the Pacific. That's usually our key here. Now, whenever I use the word zonal flow, and I'll be using that a lot over the coming weeks and months as you get these weather forecasts, what I'm referring to is when the winds have primarily, the winds in the jet stream have a west to east flow pattern. If I say zonal, it's strong west to east. This is not zonal. That's a highly amplified pattern. And we've broken out of a highly amplified pattern, and check it out. the Pacific jet stream over the next 10 days is really just screaming west to east. Now, what does that mean for you in the Carolinas? Well, that fact that the jet stream's doing this brings multiple systems onshore out west. They're invigorated as they go over the mountains, and they head toward the east coast. That is just what the weather in the United States does. But there's some good news. You see, our anchors for the last, 45 to 60 days have been a ridge that keeps emerging over Alaska and a broader trough that's sitting somewhere near the Hudson Bay, which means every system that comes across gets to anchor onto the colder air here and sweep it through the middle part of the country toward the southeast. That's why we got that cold air in place now. Well, you ready for some change? I want you to watch two things. See what happens to this, the ridge over Alaska, and our cold air anchor over the Hudson Bay. I'm just going to click play. You watch it. Ready? Ridge disappears. Anchor disappears. Jet stream takes off in the Pacific. And what do we get? We get troughs. They come through, but they're no longer attached to that deeper pocket of cold Canadian air, which means, yeah, Monday, Sunday, Monday, and early even Tuesday morning, we had some cooler weather to deal with this week. Boy, the chances of that continue to happen are pretty slim as we move forward. Now, the active weather comes along with us. So we're going to look first at our high-resolution NAM model to get us going forward. We have a system coming through Texas, and it's kind of drawn along this frontal boundary that stretches all the way through parts of the Panhandle of Florida and southern Georgia. As I play forward throughout the day on Monday, this stays out of the Carolinas. It starts to creep in late Monday night and early Tuesday morning. Watch what happens as I get you at about 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Now the system's well established here, moving through Alabama and Georgia, strong to some severe storms pushing into South Carolina. And then by the time I get you to, this will be about the time you wake up on Tuesday morning, well, this is now spreading through South Carolina and then on its way through North Carolina. So some heavy rain out of this system. This is just round number one. This ends up turning into a coastal low that races up the East Coast. But if you're in North Carolina watching this, let's just pick out Raleigh here. This is coming in about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, and it's going to hang around there all the way through Tuesday evening. It won't be until late Tuesday night before we get rid of this rain in North Carolina. That system goes on up to the north like that. Meanwhile, if you were watching, big system comes onshore west coast and emerges in the Central Plains by midday on Tuesday, and that's going to be the next system to watch. So let me get you there by using the European model, which runs out 10 days here. So we'll stop it right there. Just again, there's that coastal low that comes through the Carolinas Tuesday midday through evening. Then you have high pressure that takes over Thursday into Friday, but look, what's going on there in the Central Plains? Our next trough that slides through, and that one gets here for the start of your weekend. So this is Friday afternoon and evening, getting through early Saturday morning. More showers and thunderstorms move through at the end of the week. And then after that, what we end up getting here is we end up getting this next system that comes through, tapping into plenty of moisture. So we have some widely scattered showers throughout the weekend after that system that comes through here in parts of the Carolinas. And then what do we get? Early next week, our next system that slides through. So you have multiple chances over the next 8 to 10 days of having rainfall. Again, it comes through in waves, but sometimes the rain will be quite heavy as it slides through. So that's kind of an outlook on your precipitation. Showing you the week 2 anomalies here. So we're just going to go all the way out to week number 2. We certainly keep the middle part of the country active, which means these systems come through and they head on up to the northeast. So while you see much closer to average on the rainfall here, we're still going to have, it's April, so we're still going to have these systems sliding through here. Nothing about this pattern screams dry to me at all, so get ready for that. Now here's the other side of this. What we're going to now watch is what the temperatures are going to do. This is a brand new model I'm showing you here. This is a national blend, and I love this product. I've kind of highlighted a few cities there, so I got Raleigh. You can see it right there at 53. This is Monday's high temperature. Let me step you through each day of the next 10 days and watch what the temperatures do. You ready? So cool to start the week, but look what happens by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. What did we see? We see that we've eliminated our big anchor to cold air. So when these systems come through, they don't have that bitterly cold air to tap into and bring way far to the south and to the east. So we go into much more what I would call seasonable temperatures here. And even though it's going to be wet, it at least is not going to, we're not going to see these cold temperatures showing up early in the morning here, giving us the risk of frost or freeze, which is great. I love to see that, okay? Okay, from there, let's take you on a quick global tour here. I want to go down to South America. We're talking about a safrinha corn and cotton crop right here in parts of Brazil. Right now, they're looking to be wetter than average. Now, normally the monsoonal strength is weakening throughout the month of April, so to hang on to this wetter pattern here is going to do very well for the safrinha crop. Safrinha meaning second crop down there. In Argentina, they're harvesting soybeans and corn right now. Things are looking drier than average. The most aggressive harvest pace is in the northern part of Argentina, where it does carry a bit of a wet bias. But overall, when you see a drier pattern this time of year in Argentina, this is not an unfavorable time period for it to be a little bit drier than average. They're going to be just fine, I think, with their corn and soybeans grown down there. I'll take you quickly to Australia because we're talking about some cotton here. Last week, we had the remnants of a cyclone called Trevor that moved through. After Trevor, cold fronts, remember, come from the south here, kind of interacted with the leftover moisture, and we brought in some heavy rainfall here to Queensland and New South Wales. That's kind of the most agriculturally productive area, if I can kind of highlight it for you right in through there. But this next week is looking much warmer and drier as they progress into early fall, and that's the map you see over there on the right. So just want to keep you up to date on these two regions right now in our southern hemisphere that are growing an active crop. We'll, of course, tune into the northern hemisphere, other regions outside of the U.S. as we progress into the rest of spring and early summer. But with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions thank you for your attention. Hope you look forward to our next update coming out next week. Thank you.